What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Build Show. I know we're kind of out of schedule here. Typically, we would normally be streaming Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Sometimes skipping Friday and going to Saturday, but the last couple weeks have been really light. We haven't had a lot going on here, so what's up, Some Giant Idiot? Thanks for joining us over there on the Twitch side. So, it's been a little quiet, but I'm actually very grateful for that because I've had a couple of few very large projects in here that I've been focused on, as well as on the IT side, some major migrations happening, which have been extremely stressful, and there's a lot of work involved, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting to think. So anyway, the projects are going pretty good. We're wrapping up one of them. I remembered I didn't have a option for the drain on this open loop that I'm working on, so I do have to go grab one of those from Micro Center, but other than that, it's pretty much done, and I'm going to pressure test it, and then we're going to fill it, and I'll probably do that live on stream here on Saturday. I'm thinking either Saturday evening or Friday evening if I get the drain for the open loop in quick enough that I might even do that tomorrow. But that's kind of our schedule for the rest of the week. I don't really have a ton of builds in here right now. Nobody's buying anything. Surprise! Parts are extremely expensive, and now nobody's buying anything. Go figure. So, and it is impacting not only the channel, because I don't have the builds to build, which is the design of this channel. What do I do? So tonight we're going to be doing a case swap, which is more on the service side of things versus doing a full build. So this is Allison's computer. She reached out to me, found me on Facebook actually, Marketplace I think it was, on one of my old listings there, and she was interested in transferring this into a pink case, and then of course not spending an arm and a leg doing it. So we picked out the Lian Li. We went through quite a few different pink cases that I had in mind, and I've recently, if you guys have been following the channel, I've been doing a lot of pink cases lately, which is kind of funny. They always come in waves like that, and then for like the rest of the year there won't be another pink case, right? So tonight we're going to be transferring this over to a pink case, and we picked out the Lian Li Landcool 205 mesh, and it's simply because it's a smaller of the list of cases, and it is also closer to the color of pink that she wanted. What's up, Aaron? E-R? I don't even know. You're Ernjurger? Ern Yeager. What's up? What's the question? I have a question over on Twitch. Let's see here. I have a question. I have a 2070 Super Ryzen 5 5500 600 watt power supply, but the thing is, when I start the PC, it goes to a black screen before I log into the desktop. Is that a PSU or something else? What's up, Z-Werg? Welcome back to the Build Show. I think it actually sounds like a GPU problem, especially if it powers on and your fans are running, and I don't know if your motherboard has a LED debugger, but that would be the first place to look. If your motherboard does have an LED debugger, it's usually 4 lights around here in this area of the motherboard that will tell you CPU, RAM, VGA, or boot or post. Depending on the brand, it might say something different for that 4th light, but basically if it's stuck on CPU, that means you have a CPU problem. If it's stuck on DRAM or RAM, then you have a memory or RAM problem. And if it's stuck on VGA, then you have a graphics card or a display problem. And those are the 3 main pieces that are required for a computer to post, other than of course power the motherboard to be functional. But those are the 3 main components when attached to a motherboard for the motherboard to post the system. So it could be any one of those three. But if you're not getting display and the computer's powering on, and it seems like it's booting up, and you're even getting a numlock signal on your keyboard, generally that will mean you have a graphics card problem, or a power to the graphics card problem, or maybe it could be as simple and as stupid as your monitor being off or not plugged in all the way or something. So check all your connections, reseat the graphics card. And I also don't know the history of it. Was it working before? I don't know. So that's all important stuff to troubleshoot that type of issue. Oh, I switched the YouTube chat over. Do something else. There we go. It's happening, some giant idiot. And Anthony, then the big one next. That thing is going to be fun. Oh, the beast. Yes. Ben, what's up? What's up, Masonic? Welcome back to the Build Show. And Anthony, welcome back to the Build Show. Everything was working good for a month, and it started suddenly, he says. I tried to disable the GPU driver and the PC logged in successfully, but now the GPU is working and I don't know when the problem started again. Well, I assume the problem started when you get a black screen when you turn the computer on. So that tells me likely you got something wrong with that graphics card. It's a 2070. So if it's been in service its entire life, the 2070, when did that come out? In 2021? 2020? Am I... Yeah, for sure. Sometimes I would. No. RTX 2070 release date. 2018, even older than I thought. My memory's not going so well. Anyway, so yeah, it's been since 2018. So if it's ran its entire life, the 2070 that you have, thank you, Chef Tech. Chef Tech, welcome back to the Build Show, sir. But yeah, so if it's been running since 2018, think about it. It's almost 10 years old. It's 8 years old. It's been running for 8 years, and if it's never been serviced, meaning thermal paste and thermal pads, it's probably been overheating. So you probably have a memory problem on the card. That would be my first guess. Not looking at it, blindly guessing what the problem is without troubleshooting anything. I would say the graphics card is the problem. Because usually when a power supply goes, it will just either pop smoke and you'll know it's gone, it's dead, or it won't turn on at all. That's usually what happens with a power. Very rarely do you get a power supply that's feeding power but not enough power, you know. So that's a pretty rare situation. Usually they've got fail safes usually built into them that will protect from that type of stuff. So as soon as there's a fault, the power supply usually will stop working. I'm setting the GPU power max to 75 in the MSI Afterburner, and I changed the thermal paste. Okay, well, that's good to hear that it was maintained. Maybe you're not feeding enough power to it. I don't know. I dislike... I'm not a fan of playing with MSI Afterburner if you're not familiar with it. But if you are playing to tinker and learn, then, you know, that's different. But if you're just doing that to try to solve issues and you're just blindly making changes, I usually don't recommend doing that. Obviously, do a little more research. But, I mean, that doesn't seem like it would kill the card or make it so it doesn't work. Hey, what's up, Killa? Welcome back to the Build Show. And yeah, over on Kick, thank you for the follow over there. D-Werg, I know at my old PC the motherboard is the problem, but I don't want to stay on DDR4. My RAM is close to 12 years old. No, DDR4 isn't technically bad, per se. If you compare the differences, if all you're doing is gaming, D-Werg, DDR4 actually doesn't make that big of a difference in gaming. So it really, compared to DDR5, it doesn't. I'm sorry, DDR5 does not make that big of a difference in gaming in comparison to DDR4. So it doesn't make a big enough impact to make sense to that be the reason to upgrade. There has to be another reason. Like I want a better CPU, and the better CPU means I have to go to a better platform or a newer platform, which requires DDR5. But usually the RAM is not the reason. Especially with today's RAM prices, it's so, I'm having a hard time myself trying to upgrade from 32 gigs of DDR4 to 64 gigs DDR5. Yes, I'm doubling my RAM and I'm going to DDR5, but the cost, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. Can't spend that much money on RAM. I'm sorry, what do you mean with stock settings? Meaning don't play with the MSI Afterburner, just leave it all stock for the card. What the manufacturer meant the card to run at out of the box brand new. That is stock settings. No changes to the card or the software that's managing the card. I don't know, I would start there. Especially if you made those changes to the card and then all of a sudden you started having issues, that kind of leads into, well, something changed to make the card stop working. And that's what I think it is the card. Yeah, 16 gigabytes of RAM. That's pretty good size. 4 by 16, so that's 32, that's 64. I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of RAM there. You bought back in December 2014, so that was probably when DDR4 was pretty expensive, because that was like right around the time DDR4 was becoming a little more popular. And when I buy a new motherboard and GPU, I make everything new. Okay, yeah, I hear you there. That's kind of where I'm at right now, is I'm trying to do the same thing. I'm on the AIM4 platform. I got 32 gigs of DDR4. It works. But, you know, I'm running into limitations more so around my PCIe lanes and USB limitations. So I want to make the leap to the AIM5 platform and kind of widen that road, so to speak, that bandwidth pipe, so I could do a little bit more on a single system while I'm streaming. Have more cameras! More camera angles! Imagine that. More camera angles, guys. But first check all the wiring, update motherboard BIOS stock settings for everything. Maybe that's what you do when you usually have problems, is you go back to stock, because you know that's where it's supposed to work. Thank you, some giant idiot, for the excellent advice there in the chat. I want to jump to 4 or 8K gaming. Oh geez. I say don't even try. I mean, unless you're made of money. Z-Worg, if you got the money and you want to do 8K, go for it. But in my opinion, I don't think it's worth going to 8K for gaming. It's just too expensive. Free IT support for the win. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on? Anthony says, nowadays, overlooking is just not worth it. If anything, undervolting is the way to go. Overclocking, yes. Overlooking. I see what you did there. You did that so I would say that. Yes, I actually just had a local person. I wouldn't say customer. I don't know what he is. He calls in and asks questions all the time, but he was having an issue with a 9060, or it was a 9070 XT. It was one of the newer AMD cards, and it was running really hot. And I'm saying really hot, and it's probably more normal for an AMD card, I would say, but it was a little warmer than I probably would have wanted to see it. So I'd recommend, well, just RMA it so you don't have to deal with it. It's a new card. And he ended up undervolting it and getting it running beautifully. So I was like, okay, whatever. That works. Personally, I would have just RMA'd it because I don't want to deal with it. Because I deal with all the other problems with everybody else's computer. So it's like, yeah, just send it back. Let the manufacturer fix the problem. But I mean, yes, undervolting will help in a lot of cases. That is correct. Instead of overclocking. Overclocking, yes, you can get better speeds. Overclocking is really only nowadays geared. When people say I want to do overclocking, I see overclocking your CPU and overclocking your RAM. That is it. But do you really get that big of a benefit out of overclocking? And the answer is no. You don't get enough benefit overclocking to make it make sense. Unless you really like tinkering in that stuff and you enjoy it, then go for it. But if you want stability and you just want a game and you don't care about the extra 10 FPS you'll get out of overclocking, don't overclock. No, but I'm waiting for the problem to start again to do that. So it's an intermittent problem. If it's coming and going, that is a good sign that you have a memory problem on the card. Like, it's time to save for a new card. Yeah, the 9070 XT can run a bit on the hot side and draw like 320 to 330 watts, which in all honesty is not that much in comparison to some of the other cards out there right now. But yes, for that card, it is a lot. Hey, what's up, Tony? Welcome back to the Build Show. New card in this economy? Okay. New used card. Used for somebody else. New for someone else. Get it? That's what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to go to a 4070 Ti Super on my new build, because the 4070 Ti and the 5070 Ti and the 5080 have skyrocketed in price to the point where it's like, is it really worth it? Is it really worth that? And the answer is, in my opinion, no. When I can go get a used 4070 Ti Super with 16 gigs or a 4080 Super for way less. And it has 16 gigs of VRAM. So how tight should I tighten the AM5 contact frame? The contact frame, actually a good video to watch if you want a good demonstration on how to install a AM5 contact frame was by Gamers Nexus. So if you look up AM5 contact frame Gamers Nexus on YouTube, they have a really good video that shows how they recommend installing it, and I recommend doing it the same way. That's how I install it. If you look at some of my past build videos where I did an AM5 build, I usually zoom in on that process and show you kind of what I'm doing. Sometimes I talk about it, but I don't always in every single video. But it shows the basics, and you're pretty much going to thread it down until they're even all the way across all 4 screws. And you do it in a diagonal pattern. So you're doing it like this, if that makes sense. You have to get the 4070 Super Ti. Oh, I'm sorry, the 4070 Super Ti Super Ti Super for 16 gigs. Yes, that's the card I need. Completely forgot about that. That's what I meant. The 16 gig 4070 Ti Super Ti Super. I just make fun of the name because it's like, instead of the 4070 Super or the 4070 Ti, we're gonna make the 4070 Super Ti, and that is why I make fun of it. Hey. Want to give me that one too? I'll leave that one. Yes, builder in training. She's down here taking tools and things. Had to hand her off back to Mrs. Empower so she can go get empowered for bed. Came over to say goodnight. compared to the 5070 Ti running at like 250 watts, that's why they run a little hot, drawing more power, yes. Just screwing with confidence. Yeah, don't watch The Verge. If anything, do not watch The Verge video as a... I don't even think they have it up on their channel anymore. So, I don't even think you can watch it unless somebody else reposted it. Super IT, or Super TI Plus Max, yes. Yeah, it's kind of comical, yes. So back when they announced the release of the 4070 Ti, I'm sorry, the 4070 Super Ti, or is it the 4070 Ti Super? I don't know. I got it backwards now. Back when they announced that card, I was demanding a South Park episode of them making fun of NVIDIA and their naming scheme, because that would have gone so well. Imagine South Park making an episode about NVIDIA naming their cards. All it would have taken was somebody that was an NVIDIA fan on the editor's team that would have said, "Hey, I have an idea," and then bam. I don't know if I haven't really watched South Park, so I have no idea if they actually did make an episode of South Park related to NVIDIA yet. Oh yeah, no problem, Anthony. I'm glad you were able to come pick it up Saturday evening. Asus ROG Astral GeForce RTX 5090 BTF OC Edition will be my new GPU. I don't think DDR4 is enough. Well, that is not actually true necessarily. I don't think it's the DDR that's going to be the problem. I think it's going to be the CPU on the DDR4 platform that'll be a bottleneck. The stock 5080 is actually a super. You can overclock it 28%. I didn't know that. The Verge PC building is still floating around. It's been re-uploaded a couple of times. I don't think it'll ever die. I think it'll stay around. It was a moment in PC building history that all of us will remember. The Verge PC building tutorial video. I kind of feel bad for the dude, in a way, because he was in no way prepared for that video. Nor was he maybe the right person to do it, but... I mean, heck, he got a PC out of it. I think he got to keep that PC, which, I mean... you know? They hid Buddy because they thought they were going to come out with a super. Ah, gotcha. Yeah, I know. Canceled that right up. Funny how they plan all these things in the... Okay, we've been chatting for about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes now, so let's go ahead and get started with the actual service. For Ellison tonight, we're going to be transferring this PC to a pink case with a new AIO and some sleeved cables. So that is our goal. We're going to reuse everything else in the build except for the fans, the case, and the AIO. Sound like fun? Hey, what's up, John? Welcome back to the build show. Roads were horrible. Yes, yeah. I had to drive in those the next morning. It sucked. All right. Let's get started. So we're going to start by removing everything we need out of this build. That's the graphics card, the power supply, the motherboard, and the storage, which I think is SATA storage. Huh. There's our GPU, our graphics card, which is an RTX 3060 Ventus, 12 gigabyte overclock. This motherboard is the, and I'm glad it's the B550M VDH Wi-Fi by MSI because it has the USB-C option, and our new case does have USB-C front panel. So That'll go very nicely in the build, although it is a micro ATX motherboard going into an ATX case. I actually didn't know this was going to be a micro ATX motherboard. So sometimes we order parts based off of blind assumptions. And today was one of those days. Is the 9070 XT good? Young cucumber. Young cucumber. The 97, yes, the 90s. I'm sorry. Use my young. I'll stop. Young cucumber. Young cucumber. Yes, the 9070 XT is good. Good. Does run a little toasty. Undervolting does help it if you're worried about temps. Okay. That cable. Okay. Good. You know, we must be zip tied back here because I can't get any slack on any of these cables. So we're going to go pop this open on the back and find out what we got back here. My, what do we have? Oh, look at it. Almost feels like I built this one, to be honest. But I don't think I would have put this here, nor would I have used a Cooler Master cooler. Did I build this one, Allison? Jay, what's up? Hey, Empower, what's wrong with the motherboard and case? What do you mean, what's wrong with the motherboard and case? Nothing is wrong. Oh, you're going to undervolt yours for sure? Nice. Too much for the 9070 XT, gotcha. Wonderful. I want a clean build with no cables showing, only... Oh, so you're going to do one of those zero... What are they called? Those connections on the backside of the motherboard builds? Project Zero, I think it is, by MSI, and then Gigabyte has a different name for it, and Asus has a different name for it, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay. Allison, was this a build that I did previously? Because it looks very familiar. You didn't build this one, actually. Okay. Because I did build in this. This is a Phanteks case. I'm very familiar with it because I did a ton of builds in it back in the day. The only thing I would not have used in this build is this particular CPU cooler, this AIO. This would have been a... it would have been either Vitro or maybe entry Thermalbright, like very beginning, but probably Vitro. Or Deepcool. It could have been Deepcool too. But Silicon Power is a brand I would have used. EVGA is a brand I would have used. This case is a case I would have used. And this would have been back in like 2021, 22 when I would have built this. Pop the cables. Have a little bit of wiggle room here. Yeah, that cable is in there pretty good. And it looks like we have two SATA cables, so that means we have... Aha! A hard drive on the front. Because that is unique to this case. I always thought that was super cool, by the way, the way Phanteks did this, by putting the hard drive installation on the front. But it was a cool design. Retrieve a graphics card and a hard drive. Let me actually get the hard drive out. I said get the hard... There we go. little bit of a argument there with the hard drive. So, let me put the case back in here. Maybe. These were not the correct screws, unfortunately, for this SSD. A little bit of rust on the screws, which is interesting, so that means it could have been in a basement environment or somewhere where there was a lot of humidity. That's what that tells me, that this PC lived in a environment with high humidity. It was based off a little bit of rust on the screw, which usually there's nothing wrong with that. Go pick up some rust. Scratched bare metal. Okay. Now that we've got that freed up, good. Now be able to pop this board pin. There we go. That's pulled. This is going to have to be freed up too. RGB to the block. Yeah, I was just curious because, to be honest, it looked like one I would have built. Pretty close. Ah, whoever built this did not, so this is a sign that Ben didn't build it, but whoever built it did not plug in your USB 3 front panel, so these two USB ports wouldn't work. Is that correct? These ports never worked on the front or top, and it would have been as simple as them, whoever built it, plugging it in right there to this part here, which is your front panel USB 3. Little connector right there that would have plugged into. All right, so let's go ahead and dismount this cooler from the motherboard or the CPU, and then we'll pull the board, because we pretty much got everything else pulled. Point, which is thumb screws. Ah! Well, if you know the person who built it, you should message him and say you're an idiot. Just kidding. All they had to do is plug in the... I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. Did you build this? Crap, I should probably know that before I say stuff like that. No, it would have been just that plug that you had to plug in. And then, cool thing, and like I said earlier, is the USB-C here. All you do is plug that in for our new case. So you'll have USB-C and USB 3 front panel on the new case, and we'll make sure that's all working for you. Unless this is damaged and I don't know anything about that, and that's why I got left unplugged. What? Never worked? The USB 3 front panel was never plugged in. That's why it never worked. So she had to go to the back of the computer to get to her USB ports. Alright. This is a wonderful, actually still really nice CPU. The Ryzen 5 3600X on the B550M VDH Wi-Fi motherboard. It's a great little build. Let's zoom me back outie. Yeah. No, I didn't build it. Oh, thank goodness. I'm glad I did not offend you. Well, whoever built it should have known that they could have solved that problem just by plugging that in. If the board supports it and the case has it, It makes no sense as to why it wasn't plugged in. Once I get the board out, I am going to take a look at the pins on that connector and see if there's damage to it. Maybe that's the reason why it never got plugged in. But I mean, it's an excellent build. It is definitely something I would have built back in the day. And this is still on a very acceptable platform, the AM4 platform. You have a lot of headroom on this board. Being a B550 chipset, you could literally run any of the 5000 series CPUs out available. So you got some headroom here for upgrades. One screw. That's because I'm the idiot. You know, sometimes stupid stuff too. There we go. Motherboard pulled. And we also need the I/O shield. And then we gotta dismount the power supply. We should probably wipe that down before we do get thermal paint. You know, that would be the smart thing to do. You know, this thermal paste is not too dried out, so it is relatively newer. Not that old. Whoops. Usually a terrible sign when you're... Here's what I'm talking about. I see the pitting. There's a lot of pitting going on here. Pitting is what happens when moisture hits bare metal. I just want to point this out, that this is what high humidity will do bare metal. I don't know if you can see it or not. Maybe I need to zoom in just a little bit more and focus on that. Will it focus? Maybe? No? Okay. It's not going to focus on the screw where the pitting is, but you can kind of get the, you can kind of see it. Yeah? I see that all over the screws wherever a screwdriver stripped the paint off the screw or the powder coating off the screw, which I think these are just paint. Most of them are cheap. My point is there's signs of high humidity. Did the PC live in a basement environment, do you know? Because that would be my first guess. Or somewhere where there was a lot of humidity. And there is our power supply. Don't worry, I will clean these up before we put them in the... But that will conclude everything that comes out of the case minus a set of cables. We do need those. Put the ones in. That'll be everything that comes out of this case. For the piece. Now, did you want me to, Allison, did you want me to clean this case up so you could resell it? Do you have plans to sell it, the cooler, the case? I'm not sure about before I had it, but now it is not in a basement. Okay. Well, definitely at some point lived where there's some humidity. Computers generally do not like humidity. What, call that out. If it is in a humid environment, getting a humidifier to help manage the humidity is a good idea. But if that's not the case now, that could have been could have been from the past. Okay, so now it's cleaning time. What we're going to do is clean up all these parts before we introduce it to the new case, because it is a brand new case. And we do not want to bring old dust bunnies into a brand new case. So, now you know why my desk and everything looks so dusty, is because I deal with a lot of dust. Oh, Jay, what's up? She got it from a 20-year-old guy, so we were not sure if it was in a basement or high humidity. Yeah. Generally speaking, the only signs of pitting I saw was on the case and the case screws, which is a good sign. I don't see any signs of rust anywhere on any of the components, including the graphics card. And actually, rust likes to develop on the back plates of graphics cards when there's a lot of humidity, and also on the pipes of the graphics card, which I see absolutely no signs of pitting or humidity on any of the components, but on the screws. So it could have been that the case, being an empty shell, or at some point in its life, lived in a basement environment or was stored in a basement environment, and that's how the screws, the hardware, became pitted. I don't know the past life of this, but there is absolutely no signs of any type of rust on the components themselves. That looks good. They're in good shape, I'd say. We're just going to do a little bit of dusting, and then we'll break out the new case and get started there. The graphics card is an RTX 3060, 12 gigabyte version, Tony. And the CPU is a 3600, 3600X, and I think she said 16 gigs of RAM, and then we've got the SSD hard drive combination. It's all good. Give me some time here. I'm going to clean things up. I'm also going to do a little bit of brushing. This is just a cheap Home Depot or disposable paintbrush. You can pick them up at Home Depot or anywhere, any of your stores that have paint, really. They're like $1. And I use these to clean and then throw them out eventually. All right, so I'm going to start by cleaning up the power supply. It's got a lot of dust bunnies in here. Let's get this cleaned up, and then we'll go on to the next one. It's going to be a little harder than I thought, because it's not just dust, it's sticky dust. So really, the life of the motherboard sat like this, so most of the dust sat on any flat surface that is facing upwards, right? So that is what I'm targeting to quote-unquote scrub with the paintbrush, and then the rest of it should just blow right off. You know? Alright, let's blow this out. Much cleaner. So the shiny pieces are now shiny. Alright, the graphics card, to be honest with you, is relatively clean. I actually don't see any dust on this at all. Did you guys add this recently? Or was it new with the computer? I picked it out for her. I had to make sure she wasn't getting, or she was getting a good GPU. Yes, the 3060 is a great card to start out with. Tony, yeah, well, it's also slower clock speeds on the card, so yes, it has 12 gigabytes of it, and there's a reason. I can't remember the technical reason why it has 12 gigs. And then later they came out with an 8 gig. I can't remember the technical reason behind it. Somebody jogged my memory. Hey, what's up? Ritz Dragon over there on the Twitch. Welcome back to the Build Show. D-Work, I decided to weld my own case. Oh, that's pretty cool. You should put together a stencil and how-to video on how you did that. Noah, what's up? Welcome back to the Build Show. Question: is there any way to build a computer under $200 for like light gaming, like Roblox? Yes, but it would be 100% used components. You would not be using anything new with that budget. So used market, you're going to be using some used hardware for that. Yes, we added it after buying the perfect. Okay, so that was relatively a newer expense. i7 or i9 CPU with a integrated graphics card should be fine for Roblox. So you could do that, but I don't think you're going to find an i7 or an i9, at least a new one, with a complete build in a $200 budget. Unless you find it somehow on a laptop, which would be kind of crazy. But I don't think a laptop would be in that price range. But yes, you could do it. I mean, even if you do like an older i7 4th gen, I'm talking like way back, that would be able to run it, but you would not be able to run Windows 11 correctly. Because it technically doesn't have the quote-unquote security support behind it. But I mean, something like that with like a GTX 1650 4 gig card would run it just fine. $200 budget, yeah. Yes. Those are the tough questions I get all the time. My most common question, because I have, you know, my builds, my custom build advertisement on Facebook Marketplace. That's my most common advertisement on Marketplace. And the most common question I get is what can I get for $500? And unfortunately, today, I can't even build a PC brand new, because that's mostly what I do is I work with new hardware. Very rare that I do a used build now. But I work with new hardware. I can't do a build new for $500 right now. It's just impossible. No, it is not. The i7-4930K is not a good CPU for streaming in 2026. It will be pegged at 100%, especially if you're gaming and streaming on the same system. So the 4th generation i7 is not a good CPU to stream with. Gotcha, Frank's Red Hot Sauce. Used to be Murphy. Okay, gotcha. Well, welcome back. All right. So now that we've got the main components dusted, cleaned up, we'll have to clean up our hard drive and our SSD, but we're not really going to blow that out. We're just going to use a microfiber cloth, clean that up, because a little bit of sticky dust on it cleans it up. Make it look nice and shiny and new. Don't really need to do anything with the bottom because the bottom was face down, didn't really collect any. So there is our components that we're going to be reinstalling. I'm also going to take the time to wipe down the SATA cables here. Try to get those looking newer. I could just toss these. I've got a million of them. Put in new ones that are clean. But I'm not really collecting these anymore. Rather start reusing them, especially if there's no damage on them. Relatively clean and good, so healthy. Sometimes people will bend them and causes weird problems. Not today. All right, let's move these components. Break out the new case. Other than the power supply screws, the rest of the hardware will be in a bag that came with the old case, because you're going to have new hardware with the new case. And we're going to be installing a white Frozen Note 240mm AIO by Thermalright, along with some sleeved power supply cables, which are drum roll, please. As I try to destroy the box to open this. Quite literally, destroyed the box, but okay. Pink and white power supply sleeved cables that we'll be installing. We do have white cable comes with that as well. And the case itself is, guessed it, pink. Hopefully it's here in one piece. So I order it. Micro Center did not have a pink one. Noble. Or would have just ran it. Ow. That's at me. Static electricity. Would have just ran down there and picked one up. But this is the Thermalright. I'm sorry. Lian Li LandCool, that's where I'm messing it up, 205 mesh USB-C. And it also includes two 140mm fans, addressable RGB fans on the front, and one 120mm addressable RGB fan on the rear, and they are in white, which is going to match very nicely with the cooler, the white cooler that we picked out to go in here. So we'll have a nice white and pink theme with the motherboard and the graphics card setting, and the RAM all being black. It'll look really nice, even with the black accents in the background. We do have black cables from the front connectors here, the front panel connectors, which feature our, what we were talking about earlier, USB-C, HD audio, and our USB 3.0 headers, which will all be functioning. You will have your front panel functionality. All right, for the first time. Let's go ahead and get the back panel off. Get our hardware broken out and throw this motherboard in there. Oh. I do not remember what these are for. Something to do with the power supply? I think these are power supply brackets. I can't remember. Somebody remind me. Beautifully set already, ready to go. We'll put our 3.5-inch hard drive here, our 2.5-inch SSD here. Obviously our motherboard here. Our cooler is going to be mounted at the top. We'll fix some of these cables so it doesn't look that one's so tight up there. We'll figure that out. Okay. We're going in. Back plate. What do I call this? Then we have our hardware. Because this is geared for an ATX motherboard out of the box by default. ATX is the bigger version of your motherboard. Your motherboard is a micro ATX. So we do have to make sure we have the correct standoffs in place for a micro ATX configuration. Not very difficult to do. We just have to find or steal the, it looks like we're stealing. We'll just steal them. Unless that is going to scratch the paint. So we're going to take these black ones instead. They're going to be underneath the board. You won't be able to see them anyway. Forget what I'm talking about. Just forget it. Okay, let me bend my fingers weirdly so I could fit this. Kind of like working on a car, but nothing close. It's just smaller. Come on, thread. Yes, I have my fair share experience working on cars. And that is why I do not work on cars anymore as much. I do not like working on cars anymore, especially now that it's that I've done it in the winter. Winter panic. Okay, motherboard. Now we have the studs here, which is configured for micro ATX. One way you could check, if you're not familiar with where they go, but all the little holes here on the board, which are mounting points on a micro ATX, you should see 6, 7, 8 total. Some micro ATX versions will not have these two on this side, and this one may be a little higher up. I will call that out. I don't know if there's a specific name for that, but there are different types of micro ATX versions, layouts. Keep that in mind, it's not always the same. Surely it. Not always the same. So you can put the board in place and look at all the holes and see if there is a threaded stud underneath. The last thing you absolutely do not want to do is have one of these studs on the back of the board touching the board where it is not meant to be touching. Because what that will do is ground out, and it might ground something important and break something. So do not do that. That is the number one most important thing to do when you are building your PC. Well, one of the top things of don't do. Don't leave a stud behind the motherboard where it don't belong. What? No. And then it's just the 8 screws to finish mounting the board to the case. I know, this is riveting. Sorry, I know I haven't really been paying attention to the chat. I've been kind of heads down trying to get this done. D-O-N-E. It's been a long day, guys. You guys knew what I had to go through today. The mind F's I had to work through and figure out solutions for. Basically, in short, we're moving 3,000 people from one email system to another, from one phone system to another, going from a traditional hard phone to a Teams soft phone is what it's called. And then also, one moment. Anyway, where was I? Jay, I'm rocking a 2070 Super and a Ryzen 5 5700. That's a great combination still to this day. Very 1080p capable. Hey, what's up, Hannah? Good evening, used US. Good morning, US. Good morning, Europe. Good evening, US. Good morning, Europe is actually how I should have read that. I'm just terrible at reading. I like the German or Japanese cars from the 1980 or 1994. They made some pretty cool cars. It's taken a couple of decades, but we can finally run games at 1080p with a 5080 maxed out. You mean we can actually run Crysis, guys? Can we actually run Crysis? I'm just kidding. Got a little excited. I'm still getting good performance from the latest game, around 60 to 70, 80 FPS. Yes. If you're playing a lot of single player, that's kind of the sweet spot. You could still manage, but if you're playing multiplayer and you're getting just absolutely crapped on by a bunch of teeny boppers that sound like they haven't even, you know, you're absolutely getting crapped on. It's probably because mom and dad bought them a 5080 and you're still... but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, my build is a 3070 Ti with a 5700X. I don't really need much more. The only reason why I'm upgrading, like I was talking about earlier in the stream, trying to upgrade based on the prices of parts right now, I'm kind of just like, meh. I cannot drive myself to buy 64 gigs of DDR5 RAM at today's prices. But the main reason why is because I have a limitation on how many USB items I could plug into my computer before things just shut off, like the camera. Like this camera, back when I was troubleshooting it for like weeks, and I was like, why does this camera shut off? And it was because I had too much stuff on the USB. Too much bandwidth. The USB controller was like, I'm gonna shut you off. Click. That makes me feel so much better. I can handle the bandwidth. Anyway, that is why I want to upgrade. With FrameGen, that he says, you can play at 4K on your 5080. What joke? $1,800 for 5080? I know, 4090s were $1,800, guys. 4090s. 5090s were $1,800. Makes me sick. I can't spend $800 on 64 gigs of RAM. Can't do it. 3 times I tried. I had it in the cart. Was going to click buy now. Clicked it. Got to the checkout. Closed the window. 3 times now. Like sitting there thinking all the better things I could do with $800. It is not 64 gigs of RAM. But it is unfortunately what it is right now, and I might have to do it eventually. Because I don't know how much more I could hold out. Would be nice to have, that thing stands tall like it's a hills or something. I always forget how tall my case is actually built into the same exact case, which is funny. Mine's just really dirty. Don't look at it. What? The PC guy's computer's really dirty? Shame. Yes. I haven't had time to deal with it. And I was supposed to make a YouTube video on how to clean your PC. It would have been really funny to watch the guy that complains about all the dirty PCs to have a really dirty PC. Wouldn't it have been funny? That would be funny, right? You guys would laugh. It's pretty funny. And don't tell me you wouldn't. Because you would. You know. There we go. Now it is time to put our EPS cables in. Go, EPS cables, go! Which, this kit, by the way, is really nice and has pre-combed cables. Highly recommended. Highly recommended. Try. No, it's cooler. That. Then it kind of helps hide the other cable. We've got 2 GPU cables, 2 EPS cables if you ever upgrade. Match. As well as the 24 pin to go and match the build. The theme. Come on, you. You wee little bugger. Look at the pretty cables. Anthony, just wait. They're going to come out with a new CPU for AM4 soon enough. DDR4 and AM4 is still has some fight left in it. I know. I wish they would, like, release another another 3D V-Cache CPU for AM4. I mean, come on. That would extend the life of this socket so beautifully. It would be like, get this. Okay, I know a lot of you, some of you, might not be Detroit fans here, but it'd be like Justin Verlander coming back to the Detroit Tigers for unfinished business. That would be exactly how a X3D CPU for the AM4 socket coming back would be. That's what it would feel like. How about that? Detroit Tigers World Series 2026. Anybody? Yeah? Yes, I do not have time to work on my own PC. It's kind of like, the mechanic. He has a really crappy car because he doesn't want to work on his car because he works on everybody else's cars. It's kind of my situation right now. Yeah. Yeah, it's cheaper, but I don't think it's, the 5850X 3D. There you go. There you go. You're on the right path, some giant idiot. Maybe you should go work for AMD. Just walk into a marketing meeting and there's a rumor there's going to be AMD has said something about it. Who knows what it will be? Go Mariners. Yeah, in the way, I feel like the Mariners had a really good shot. I kind of... Wait, who won? Yeah, no, it was Guardians, and then who else did we go after? Crap, I'm having a very bad meltdown in my head, guys. I've got a lot of things going on in my head. Once the Tigers got knocked out, it kind of just got deleted. But I am excited for the new season. I'm just trying to figure out. Just trying to remember exactly how the Tigers got knocked out. I think it was the Mariners, wasn't it? It was. That's why you're saying go Mariners. I see what you're doing now. Somebody's taking advantage of me. I was just happy to beat the Guardians, right? We beat the Guardians after they beat us. Yeah. After we had a 15-game lead. Yeah. We're just not going to talk about that. We don't talk about those things around here. All Seattle teams usually disappoint you. I don't know, the Seahawks did pretty good this year, though, huh? Like a shocking season out of your quarterback. Everybody thought he was dead and gone. And to be honest, I thought he was like a filler quarterback for the Seahawks until they figured things out. And just when you think that, all of a sudden, wait. Sorry guys, I bumped the camera. Did I bump it? Not bad. Okay. So we're breaking the cooler out of the box, getting ready to mount this bad boy. One of my most favorite things about the brand Thermalright is that everything has a twist tie, also known as bread ties. But for those of you un-American out here that don't have twist ties on your bread, and you actually buy real, freshly baked bread in your bakery, these twist ties are absolutely obnoxious. Not only do I have to deal with twist ties in the morning when I get up and try to make a piece of toast with my eggs, I also have to deal with twist ties anytime I deal with a Thermalright cooler. In other words, if I was running for president, I would definitely ban twist ties from the United States. Right, that's why I can't find my... Over here. Fancy little... Okay, so now that we've got that done, you, however, have this wonderful bracket that Liam Lee provides us to install, which, if you mount unevenly, will not go in properly. So make sure you mount it evenly, or you will never get this in there. Oh my gosh, give me the great bag. There we go. Need that one. Don't need that. Don't need that. That or that. In fact, I don't need that. Don't need these. I threw that bag thinking I could get rid of it. 3 brick boys, let's go. Wait, you only build with 3 bricks? Lego? How did bro build so many PCs in 2023? You know, I get accusationed about that question all the time. Like somebody is turning into Jack Bauer and asking me, how did you build so many PCs? I'm just kidding, it's not like that. But anyway, the reason why I did 733 PCs back in 2023 is because I went full-time building PCs back in 2023. Also, in addition to the many of PCs that I built, because I went full-time and I went marketing like crazy, I spent a lot of money in marketing, and I also did a ton of budget builds. Meaning, to build a customer base, you must first establish customers, right? And that's in order to establish a successful business. Well, since then, I've basically eliminated most budget builds. I don't really do a ton of budget builds anymore because my time has become more and more and more valuable. Meaning, if I spend all my time doing budget builds, I'm not going to be very successful. So, because they're not very profitable. Budget builds net you like $50 a build, maybe. And $50 after about 4 hours of work is not going to be profitable. So $50 divided by 4, yes, you could do a couple all at the same time, meaning you're spending about 4 hours total in the build. That's $50 an hour, and the rest of the time you're doing multitasking across while working on other things, while you're installing Windows, doing this, doing the drivers, doing the BIOS, running the benchmarks. All of that stuff can be done multitasked across many different systems, but probably comes out to about $25 an hour, which is pretty poor. So budget builds got cut for the most part, unless it's somebody like a existing customer and they come back to me and they're like, yeah, my kid wants to build and this is how much I have. I will 100% happily build them another PC or build somebody a PC, and or if it's a friend of a friend, you know, type thing. Sure, do it. In most of the cases, I don't actually make any money on those types of builds anymore. So I'm literally doing them for free. Because there's just not enough money. There's just not enough margin in today's prices of parts. You just can't make any money doing it. Unless you're buying, of course, hardware in major bulk prices, and I'm just not at that volume. It's not at that volume. But yes, the other answer to your next question is, man, that must have been like a few PCs a day. It was never like that. It actually came in waves. So there would be a week with no PCs to build, and then suddenly I had 30 builds to do in 1 week. So that was the wave effect. It was like I was following the wave of paychecks from companies to people. It's kind of, so it was usually the weekend when I got stacked up with orders, which was nice. It was fun. It was a good experience. It just wasn't enough to pay the bills, so I had to cut back on it and go back to contracting the IT industry. That is why I'm not always available during the day anymore. I'm out doing real IT stuff. Not that this isn't IT. I'm just saying I'm working with like Microsoft 365 servers and infrastructure with thousands of people, trying to keep it secure. How do I want to do this? I think I want to shove these both first. Like, how does that happen? I have zip ties on cables and they still get tangled up. Okay. I just can't win here. Okay. You just... There. Nope. Yep. There you go. Yep, bring it back. There you go. Stupid adulting, I know. Why do I have to pay for these stupid things called bills? Yeah, kind of sucked. Especially when you have kids and everybody's like, I'm hungry. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad, I promise. There was just, you know, like times where I was like, man, I really wish we had some extra money to put some tires on the car, eh? And that's my Canadian coming out. But it's, and I'm in Michigan. And it was just hard to do those types of things. I've only built 2 before. It's pretty fun. Just curious how you got into it. I just, long time, this is Star Wars moment, long time ago. In a county not so far away, Ben's uncle delivered him a box of parts with a book that had absolutely nothing to do with the box of parts he had on how to build a PC. So after many hours of frustration on his birthday, Ben successfully was able to assemble it and get the PC to power on, but it would not post. So Ben's uncle had to come back and figure out what the hell Ben did wrong. And then that's really what piqued my interest, is after that, the troubleshooting aspect, the figuring it, the challenge is what started my interest of trying to figure out, okay, why doesn't it turn on? I put it together literally based on everything that I've read and seen. Back then we didn't have YouTube or anything like that. Imagine that. I'm a boomer that grew up through all of it. I'm technically tail end millennial. So imagine that. I grew up seeing the transition through the technologies, living through all of it so far. From the beginning of the internet, basically. Okay, let's see here. What's up, Steve Anderson? Welcome back to the Build Show, sir. Tom, what's up, man? Welcome back to the Build Show. Cyberpunk Doom Eternal came out nearly the same time. Oh, nice. I don't know what part of questions. I've lost the chat, guys. It's just scrolling too fast now. Which is, you know, it's not a bad thing. I just can't keep up. I didn't see any burning or anything though. I didn't see any what do you do if you shorted a new motherboard? Hold on, we got a problem. Tom PC, I repaired some laptops and built my own PC. Rebuilt USB issued. New motherboard needed. You need a new motherboard? Quite interested in the PC industry, but not many good deals on PC parts where I am. Yeah, that's everywhere right now. That's not just where you're at. There's nowhere. You can't hide from the PC prices. Look at Jack. Oh. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad his channel got nuked. I probably nuked it. I shouldn't say that on YouTube. Should I say that? Is that allowed? But with frame generation, I could play 4K. My boomer. I'm a boomer and I'm proud of it. I'm basically a boomer now. That's basically where I'm at. I've accepted it. I'm old. I have to go to a doctor and talk about testosterone. So that's to give you a hint of how old I am. Hey, what's up, owner? Welcome back to the Build Show. And then I have to talk about the diabetes. And then I have to talk about my thyroid. And then I have to talk about my blood pressure. Like, why is your blood pressure so high? It's always been high. I don't know. Just a big dude. I've always been a big... Oh, well, you've always been a big dude because you have this problem, and this problem. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. You mean I wouldn't have been 240 pounds my entire life if I knew this 20 years ago? I actually don't have the lumbar pain. Believe it or not, I've got a fairly strong back. So I'm pretty happy about that, and I've invested heavily in the sleeping mattress that supports bigger dudes. Because I've always been a bigger dude. Not, you know, super overweight. I'm just heavy set. I've just always been heavier set. Right now I'm like 240 pounds, and I was shocked because I was like 220 pounds at the beginning of the year. So I don't know what happened. A lot of stress has happened. I don't know what happened. The only thing I can tell you is that winter happened, and then we built a lot of PCs in December. So that is what happened. I probably stress ate as I was building. And I probably ate at terrible hours too. So now I got to lose the weight again. And I started working on that. And I'm like, why am I still gaining weight? I am dieting the crap out of my body. I am trying to be extremely, in comparison to what my other activities were, more active than normal. I have, I don't know, times 10 of my steps per day for the last month, and I'm still gaining weight. It's like, what is happening? I drink zero, so I went from regular soda to zero sugar soda. Yes, I still drink sodas, but I don't drink nearly as many as I used to. Yeah, my blood pressure is, I think, a little higher than that, Steve. It's one something. No, I'm gaining fat. I could tell you where the fat's going. Right in this section. And I could see it in my face. I could feel it. I feel just sluggish. It's part of getting old is what everybody keeps telling me. And I'm like, I don't think that's it. I think there's something else going on here. I'm not going to accept I'm getting old as an answer. I am not done sleeping 4 hours a night, enjoying life. More like working myself. But I'm not done doing that. I'm actually not on any medications right now, Z-Word. Nothing. No medications. Zero. Zip. Last time I was on medication was... I was on blood pressure medication before I had my groin surgery. I know this is TMI for Allison, sorry, and I know it's getting late. I apologize for going. We're just in the old man conversations now. But I had a groin hernia that I had to get repaired, and I was on blood pressure meds because they had to knock me out for that surgery. And they would not knock me out if I had high blood pressure. So I had to be on that for a little while. And that honestly made me feel so dizzy and weird. I did not like the blood pressure medication that they put me on. It made me feel weird. I know. It's not... I've been getting pretty good sleep lately. That's not the big problem. The big problem is I'm still gaining weight. And I don't know why. I'm not eating like crazy junk or drinking a ton of sugar or eating a ton of sugar. It's just weird. It's probably the lightest I've eaten in a long time. Can we change subjects? We can. Yeah, I'm sorry. Worried about my health, you know. Everybody's asking over here on Twitch. Sorry. I'm streaming to Twitch, Kick, YouTube, Facebook. I don't think anybody on Facebook's piped in. And, yeah, anyway. A lot of different questions come from different areas that you can't see over on YouTube. Most likely the stress. Yeah, thanks. I know. Yeah, I think, well, that was the whole point, is back in December, we built a ton of PCs for Christmas, because that's usually where it gets really busy. And so the stress kind of picked up on it. Just the side effect. Oh. All right, so we've got the cooler mounted to the case. Next, we have to get the block mounted to the CPU. We're going to add some thermal paste. And we got to get the pump and deal with the RGB on the back side for... We'll start by getting the block mounted to the CPU with the Arctic MX4 is what I'm going to use. Thermal paste. That stuff does a pretty good job. Especially with this cooler, it does a really good job. Haha! Oh, go for it. Pull me up on Facebook. I just don't do a very good job checking the chat on Facebook. Fair warning. Where is my Arctic paste? Here it is. So this is Arctic MX4, 45 gram. Plenty of paste here, by the way. I like to do the X pattern with a couple of dots on the sides, and then I'll slap the block right on top. Go. Yes, I peeled the peel. We just got it clamped. Now we just got to finish tightening it down here. Then we'll take this addressable RGB cable, route it to the back. Like so. And then we should get our front panel stuff connected before we really go any further. So our SATA cables, our front panel connectors, all of that stuff should be completed before we move forward. Ah! You guys didn't remind me to go look at those pins on the USB 3. They're bent to shit, and that's why it wasn't plugged in. I forgot to look. So, now we're going to unbend USB 3.0 header pins that were bent by the previous builder. And that is why they didn't plug in the USB 3 header. That's why she didn't have front panel USB 3, and I already told her she was going to have it. So now I gotta fix these pins, or I don't know what I'm gonna do. I actually think we got them all. So the last thing you want to do when you're bending pins back and forth like that is bend it back and forth too many times and then it breaks. You don't want to break the pin. You have a limited amount of times that you can bend it back and forth before the metal weakens and then it just breaks. So what I did was bend all the pins back into what I think is the right place. Now we're just going to use the connector case, try to connect it, and it should force the pins into the right place. That felt like it went on very smoothly, so I'm going to call that fixed, and we'll test the USB ports before we call it fixed, for sure. Okay, and then the rest of it, USB-C, we know where that is. That's up here at the top, so we'll route that here at the top. And we have our addressable RGB sync cable from the hub, which we want to connect to the motherboard. MSI center, MSI Mystic Light to control it. The art. There, and then I'm 85% sure one is up there. So we're going to run this back up towards the top. There. Front panel, HD audio. That goes here. You can't see that, sorry. And then we have a power switch. Flip it over and bippity boppity boo. What? Sorry, I'm a girl dad, so you got to deal with it. Actually, nah, we'll just filter. We're going to route these differently. I don't like how that's going to look. Main reason why I'm doing this is because we're in a micro ATX board on an ATX case. I'm trying to eliminate the cables running down at the bottom here, or minimize it. That way it looks cleaner. Oh, thank you for the sub, JMTV. Much appreciated. Chris, welcome back to the Build Show. She didn't listen, right? I don't know, did she? The build is really looking beautiful. Thank you, Tony. Where the hell is the Intel guy? I don't know, Tony. Why don't you go ping him on Discord and ask him where the hell he is? I'm not stressing. I'm just not totally really impressed. Yes, it's better than the 4070, but I wouldn't suggest anybody to buy one for what they are selling for. I don't think it's a $700 card. Which one are you talking about, Tony? Oh, you're talking about the 5080. Well, thank you, Jay. It's coming along. We're trying to keep it clean. Okay. So, with that all being in place now, we can probably get our RGB plugged in. We're really close here, guys. We are really close. I only had to take that off to fix that USB 3 front panel stuff. Okay. Remove another twist tie. Favorite. One more thing to plug in on this side, and that is the pump. Hey, good night, Jay. Oh, that's great. Oh. PCs go to bed. Okay, off to bed. Good night, sir. Have a good night. Wasn't Jay that was good. Gotcha. Yeah, no worries. I don't mind. I usually talk to myself on these things, you know? Looking real nice. Thank you. I do like the looks of it right now. It looks really clean. How we want to keep it. Yeah. So, next, we can put the storage in and get the, well, we could get the graphics card and get the storage in, then drop the power supply in. Do that. The back plate had a little bit of dust. Wipe that off. Nope, not that screw. Bad one. Pretty cool looking, yeah? Alright. Oh. Storage time. Not story time, it's storage time. Yep, just remembered why I disliked the case. Back then, anyway. When this case first came out, I was like, why did we do this? Hello? Doesn't this come off? Am I crazy? We're just gonna flip this around. Screw this. I hate that Lian Li did this. The hard drive cage is facing the wrong way. It's not facing the wrong way, it's just facing the front. This side. I prefer it facing the other way. But, I don't know. You can access the cage. Also going to slide it all the way forward that we have more cable run down there. As far forward as I can, anyway. Almost there, boys and ladies. Oh, thank you, Chris, for the 5 gifted memberships. Very much appreciated. Come here. That means Visa, Caden, nameable Dragon, Phaser, Polaris, all received gifted memberships from you. Thank you. Sorry, I've been quiet. I've been trying to go heads down and try to get this this thing pounded out and finished. I did get the money back for the ROG Strix, so that's cool. I did see that in the Discord channel. I meant to respond to that. 14700K, 4080, 64 gigs, DDR 6000 LandCool 207 case with an Arctic P12 Pro fans, non-RGB. Nice. Oh, we went with the 205, not the 207, but the LandCool. All right. We weren't as cool. We went with the 205. Now the main reason why is we wanted pink. And this is a smaller tower, and that's what she was interested in, versus some of the larger options. This is what we went with. I still like the 205. I still run. My build is still in the 205. Same case as this, except it's black. But not that I wouldn't run a pink case. Pink cases are cool. So my daughters have been seeing these pink cases, and I've been telling them for a long time they don't come in pink. I think I'm in trouble. Okay. Huh. A little bit of a tight squeeze on the backside, but it's okay. We got it. Voila. The PC is built. Why is the side panel not? Because there's cables on the back that push on the panel, and if you don't get it on right, it's pushing the cables inwards. It's a little bit of an older style case, so there's not as much of a there's not as big of a gap on the backside as newer cases. So as we're putting newer hardware inside a semi older case, older design case, it's not that this is in any way an obsolete case. It is still 100% compatible. It is just the gap on the backside is not as big as, say, a lot of the bigger cases we build it. So the cables on the back push on the back panel, so you have to kind of push it in a little bit to make it fit right. Typical for this style of ATX mid-tower. If the bulge on the back is too bad, then obviously we'd have to take care of that. Okay, here's thumb screws back in, and we can clean this up, get the thing fired up, what it looks like. Keep the glass off. However, we'll get a side view of this here in just a second, so I'm going to stand it up, and we'll get a side view. Uno momentos. And no, we are not doing any capture card tonight because this is got customer data on the computer, and I do not have consent, obviously, to display that across the internet. So we are not going to do that. No screen share. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Let's go to the side view, and then Allison, if you are ready, you gotta let us know when you are ready to punch that power button and fire this thing up for the very first time. It is up to you now. Let us know when you're ready to hit that power button. Oh yeah, thanks Streamlabs. Tony says, smash it. Yes, the customer is in the chat. Allison, I'm very happy. Such an upgrade from how it looked before. This is perfect. Yes, it is much better looking. I agree. It wasn't too bad, cost-wise. But you saw how to do it, so now if you decide you want to go into a different case, you saw how you did it. You always have the video here. Jay says 1 second, no problem. We'll wait. I know there's a delay on YouTube, so usually there's about around a minute delay. Yes, she says, turn it on. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Punch it. Forgot to feel that. A little bit cleaner. Yeah. All right, I'll check it out. Intel guy, Roy. Beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Oh, thank you, Tony. Chris. Exclamation point build is going to spit out some basic stuff here, but it's a Ryzen 5 3600. We did a case swap today. So it was a Ryzen 5 3600X with 16 gigs Corsair LPX Vengeance and a RTX 3060 with a B550M Pro VDH Wi-Fi motherboard. The new cooler we used is the Thermalright Frozen Note 240mm AIO. The case is the Landcool 205 Mesh C by Leon Lee, which includes the two 140mm fans on the front and the 120 on the rear, as well as a addressable RGB and PWM fan hub in the back. Power supply is an EVGA, existing EVGA power supply. I think it was 600 watts if I remember correctly. And the storage is a Silicon Power SATA, I don't know the size, SSD, and then a Western Digital Blue 3.5-inch hard drive. Probably a 5400 RPM drive. Added two more fans, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, it did, because the cooler was mounted on the front, and those were the two fans on the front, so you gained two and much larger fans on the front. So you went from 120 on a radiator, which was literally the radiator setup you had up previously on the old build. All the heat from your radiator was being dumped right into your graphics card. So what that means is as your CPU got hot, your graphics card got hotter. Which in this configuration, all the heat from the CPU, from the radiator, is being completely exhausted right out the top of the case. So only fresh air is getting to the graphics card, and then fresh air is going through the radiator. This is a much more modern design to keep the heat away from the heat from the CPU away from the graphics card. That is why it's kind of designed like that. Is I'm mental. Yes, I'm mental. But that's how we want to see it. It keeps the heat out of the case. We have more control of where to exhaust the heat from the CPU in this setup. 256 gig. Gotcha. Nice. Yeah, I remember reading the number at some point, but I build so many pieces sometimes, or so many PCs. Sometimes I'm sitting here second, triple, quadruple guessing myself because I'm like, was that PC or this PC? Nice. I'm glad you learned something. That is the idea of the build shows. Share the knowledge. Hopefully we empowered someone. I normally don't like the RGB, but it looks perfectly matched. This does have a hardware controller, as well as I'm going to probably text you and ask you what the password or PIN is to get in here so we can make sure the software is updated, because you can also control all the RGB lights through the MSI Center software. So we just have to make sure that's installed, updated, and synced so we can control the software. And I can show you how to use that when you come pick it up, if you pick it up while I'm here. You know, if it's during the day and I'm not here, then I'm sorry, I can't really do that. But I could also do a remote session later and show you, or a screen share in Discord or something. But basically, if you want to text me the password, I can get in here and finish up the software side of it. I could also make sure the BIOS is up to date. The XMP profile is set, and then secure boot is enabled. I think this is Windows 11. Looks like Windows 11. I don't know, maybe 10. Can't tell. Oh, this is much quieter, so it'll run much quieter. I bought a PC that only had a 1660 Super, and the GPU definitely had SAG. Yeah, this has no SAG as of right now. The Ventus actually does pretty good. The RTX 3060 Ventus, because it is a plastic backplate, but the card is so light and small, and it's about the same size as the PCIe slot. So if it's sagging, that's usually a sign of a weaker plastic on the PCIe slot and no metal support around it. Chris says, Allison, it has to be dust-free. Computer hates dust. Yeah, wait, see, Mike, don't look at my computer right now. Quick question, how does the AIO sound? The old one was extremely loud. This one's pretty quiet. So, it's pretty quiet. Very quiet. I mean, actually, the front fans on the front are louder, and it's because MSI does not like to default PWM for their fan header, so I have to get in the BIOS and change the fan header, of course, after we do the BIOS update, to make sure that they are set to PWM instead of DC, because they're treating, right now the motherboard is treating it as a DC fan, not a PWM fan, which typically will run it louder. So I'm going to change that in the BIOS. Just a typical MSI thing. Windows 11 Home, okay. Yeah, it looked like it, but it must be an older build because the pin layout kind of looks older. I don't know. I'll see when I get in there. Take a look at it. Yes, Tony, it will run Crysis. Good question, though. I do like those questions. Normally, don't like the... Oh, yeah. It's good if it was my PC. I didn't want it to be shared. That's all I'm... Yeah, no, we would never share anybody's data on the interwebs. Absolutely not. If it was a new build, that would be different because we'd have a fresh installation of Windows going and no customer data on it. Thanks for the stream. Good entertainment. You're welcome. Make sure you like and follow, and if you're interested in joining the Discord channel, if you haven't already, feel free to punch ! Discord into the chat to receive the Discord link, or it's somewhere on the YouTube channel. That's where a lot of people like to hang out, talk about hardware, post their builds. We have a section to show off your build if you have builds you want to show off. And then, what else? Some of us game in there, and some of us just generally talk hardware or make fun of Jensen. You know, so depends on your style. Yes. Yeah, I mean, DC is technically the same thing, but it's controlled more so by the power sent to it. But yes, I see what you say. Yes, PWM. Oh, thank you, Tony, for the 5 gifted memberships over there on the YouTube. Gifting. I feel like he's been on the list before. Is that Thievery Joe? Thievery Joe? I don't even know. Restream something about T4E P01R streams. And then Spirit X Doughboy. I don't think I've ever seen him in the chat. Michael, I think I've seen him. I hate YouTube. I've seen him in the chat. A couple of good ones. Had to soak the MX paste in hot water so it could spread that. Can't believe how thick that stuff is. I actually have not dealt with 6. That's the newest stuff, isn't it? From Arctic. I don't think I've dealt with 6 yet. buy random cheap thermal paste. I have a ton of random. In fact, Deep Cool sent me paste. Vitro sent me paste. I had a bunch of different manufacturers send me all sorts of different pastes. Pastes are like, and then I've got Arctic sent me a big box of MX Cleaner. This stuff, which are the... I get that a lot. They're like, try this stuff and buy it if you like it. You know, because they see that I use a ton of it. So. I'll tell you what, that box of MX Cleaner is probably going to last me a couple of years, and then it will probably dry out before I get through all those packages. There's 40 pieces in there. I really don't use it. I have my alcohol jug here that I use instead. You know, I'm just old school. Sorry. I should just use them. But alright guys, that is the build for tonight. We got through Allison's build. We got it done. Build number 16 for 2026. We're a little slow starting this year, but I have a feeling as tax season picks up here, we will start seeing a few more builds come in and we'll pick it up. I do have a massive migration that I'm working on right now that I was talking about earlier, as well as a MSP takeover, which means their previous managed service provider outsourced IT actually went bankrupt, and now we're trying to pick up the pieces, which means we don't have global admin to their 365 tenant, we don't have access to their Synix account, which is controlling their billing, etc., etc. Anyway, long story short, it is a nightmare, and we are working through it, and it is a couple of really big jobs going on that I'm working on, so might be a little busy this week. I'm going to try to get a stream in towards the end of the week here, like Friday, Saturday, tomorrow, or Saturday. Probably, most likely, going to be later in the evening Saturday. And worst case scenario, if I don't get to it Saturday, because I'm also supposed to put tires on my car, help another customer with a case swap, possibly, and Max is supposed to get his puppy cure nail trim. Boy, I have a lot going on Saturday. I don't know if we're going to get... It'll be a tight squeeze for the build stream on Saturday. Tight squeeze. Worst case scenario, it's Sunday. Anyway, that's it for the night, guys. Have a good Thursday night. If I don't see you again before Sunday, have a happy Friday and a happy Saturday. We'll see you on the next build show, Saturday or Sunday evening. That is where I'm at. Peace, guys.